I'm more impressed by how the thing actually looks. I mean, just look at it. Imagine stopping at a red light next to this car. You would be forgiven for staring at the booty of this car as it drives off, leaving the drivers behind you blaring their horns as you just sit there. The light's been green now for like a minute and you're just there wiping the drool off your face. And wait until I show you the interior of this car. So on the outside, I think BMW might have watched one of my videos, because I've got like 300 subs. And in that video, I kind of just ripped them apart for making their grills bigger and bigger until, quite frankly, it would end up with, well, this. My name is Mo, and this is Behind the Wheel Rewind. Let me take you back to the 20th of September when we got our eyes on this. The Lotus Emea, a 905 brake horsepower Porsche Taycan Sport Turismo killer, even capable of giving the Tesla Model S a run for its money. A dual motor powertrain propels the car from 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. That is a ridiculously fast car, but I'm more impressed by how the thing actually looks. I mean, just look at it. Imagine stopping at a red light next to this car. You would be forgiven for staring at the booty of this car as it drives off, leaving the drivers behind you blaring their horns as you just sit there. The light's been green now for like a minute and you're just there wiping the drool off your face. And wait until I show you the interior of this car. I'll come on to that in just 1 second, but it's worth explaining why this car is just so important. See, gone are the days when Lotus was really known for making light, powerful cars that could go around corners fast, and then you can say, "Hey love, hand me that bacon butty." The iconic British brand is most famous, of course, for giving us the Emira and the Elise, which at the time were known for their handling and weighing less than a tea bag, allowing it to go around bendy racetracks super fast. But the brand has really tried to appeal to a much wider audience that may not be as interested in taking their car to a racetrack, whilst taking full advantage of the move towards electric power. The result? The 2000 brake horsepower Lotus Evija and the 600 brake horsepower Lamborghini Urus arch rival, the Lotus Eletre. Two cars that just look absolutely stunning. And if you ask me, I'd get the Eletre over the Urus any day of the week. Sorry, Yanni. Step inside this all-new Emea and this makes the Urus interior look like a Nissan Micra. Carbon-bodied front seats, flat-bottom steering wheel, individual rear seats and some really expensive materials gives this car that luxurious but sporty feel. The windscreen has a, wait for it, 55-inch head-up display which projects key info like directions, whilst the large central screen has 5G connectivity, flanked by screens on either side, one for the driver and one for the passenger, in a way that kind of broadly resembles the Eletre. The suspension system on this car scans the road ahead 1,000 times per second and actively responds to the harshness of the surface. So, if there's a pothole up ahead, the car should, in theory, soften the suspension so you don't feel it as much. Sounds Rolls-Royce-y like. Plus, a 400-mile range coupled with 350 kilowatt charging means you won't have that all too common range anxiety as you take this car for long drives, embarrassing Taycan and Model S Plaid drivers along the way. Talking of EVs, it was on this very same day that the Lotus Evija was announced that my brother from another mother, Rishi caused one of the most talked about things in the car world to go viral. See, for a while now the UK has been trying to be seen as the leading light in the fight against climate change, introducing a very controversial ban not too long ago on the sale of combustion engine cars from 2030. Now, people went crazy, and I guess for me it was a real demonstration that this whole EV shift is a real thing, and soon we as regular people just won't have the choice to buy a brand new combustion engine car. However, the PM has done a U-turn and extended this ban to 2035, giving us another 5 years of grace to give more time to allow for the charging infrastructure to improve. Which, as an EV owner myself, I have to say the infrastructure is just not there yet. Unless you own a Tesla, which I do not, it does feel like a little bit of a lottery when it comes to charging your car in a public place. Does the charger work? Do I need an app to use it? Is it even available? How big is the queue? These are all just questions that you end up asking yourself whilst you're driving the damn car. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, not only will you be able to buy a brand new combustion engine car after 2030, you'll still be able to buy second-hand combustion engine cars for some time, even after 2035. And for those car makers that sell really high value, high performance cars, well, there's actually something called the Aston Martin exemption, which is being considered that will allow for these car makers to keep selling their high performance ICE supercars for a little bit longer, just to give them enough time to make that full transition towards an EV lineup. So what's my thoughts? I actually think this is kind of a good thing. I mean, we're still far off from the kind of charging infrastructure that we need to really make buying an EV a no-brainer. Plus the fact that buying an EV that has at least a few hundred miles of range can still be quite expensive. And finally, let's rewind to 18th of September when we got our eyes on this, the electric BMW M3. Now we all know the staple that is the BMW M3. The car has evolved over the years. I mean, we began with this, and then we had this, and then we had this, and this, and this, and in 2027, we are gonna have this. Built on the new Class platform, which we saw a preview of earlier in the year, this is a very, very different car. So let's break this down into two key areas, outside and then inside. So on the outside, I think BMW might have watched one of my videos, you know, because I've got like 300 subs. And in that video, I kind of just ripped them apart for making their grills bigger and bigger until, quite frankly, it would end up with, well, this. So what we now have is the ability for your BMW to display all sorts of things instead of that famous kidney grille. Using e-ink technology, you can now tell people on the outside, for example, I'm really sorry that I don't know how to indicate. The rear end, well, I'm not too sure about this. I think the designer sort of dropped dead halfway through and someone else just picked up and just drew a box at the back of it. Step inside though, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's a bit like what Elon Musk would design if he was high. Because, well, in true Tesla form, there's nothing much visible here apart from this, a full width display that runs through the bottom of the windscreen, which will be a standard feature across all BMWs going forward, plus a large central screen through which stuff can be sent back and forth to the windscreen. A bit like how you move apps on your phone from one screen to another. It's pretty cool. A 3D head-up display is also offered to really round things off here. So, what happens when you take this platform and slap an M badge on it? Well, we don't really know any stats yet, but there is something that the folks at BMW cannot stop talking about. It's called the Heart of Joy control unit. Oh, that's cute, Heart of Joy. A bit like how the hand of God changed the way BMW drivers communicate with their car, which as a reminder was this. This is really about having one central system to control everything to do with power, chassis, control the car, propulsion. In theory then, the unit can deploy up to 1,341 brake horsepower to any or all of the four wheels. Now that is what would make this car worthy of an M badge. Now on to something a little bit not so M worthy. Let's roll this week's funny car video of the week.
I was recording.
I know.
And that is it for this week's show. Thank you so much for watching, and if you'd like to stay up to date on the latest car news, hit that subscribe button and of course the bell icon. Until then, we'll see you next week for another episode of Behind the Wheel Rewind.